Barry Kostrinsky. We have some board members here, and we welcome you all to being a part. You're making this work. We are about artists talking on art. Many artists are present here today, 34 on the screen so far. Emily Stedman is our featured artist. Every Monday, we do open studios. We invite artists to share, and we sort of share in a beehive mentality has developed, and it's been very great. It really has. We've done about 13 of these so far. Every once in a while, we throw something in special. We have today a little bit about the ATOA. First, a history of over 45 years, since 1975, longest running dialogue on the arts, on the visual arts in New York City. Now at different times, our location 12 West 12th Street, and we have many locations over the years. It's obviously we can't use it. So we've resorted to Zoom meetings. In a way, it's made it so some people could come who couldn't. We look forward to when we can go back in the future. For now, this is our method of presenting talks and dialogues. I want to welcome you all. I want to say all our talks are free. If you like to contribute, all the information's on our website. It's ATOA-NYC.org. Today, very special, Emily Stedman will do a live presentation to paint watercolors. Emily has been at watercolors for over 20 years. It's something that comes with bonding and working with the material. And I've been lucky to know her for long enough to watch what was a great watercolorist actually evolve. And that's a beautiful thing as a friend, as an artist, and as a curator, and a one-time gallerist, to see an artist do over time. And it's actually a surprise, something you don't expect. And so without further ado, Emily Stedman, who in the past has had a studio in the South Bronx, and of course now is at Yoho, Yonkers. What's the Yoho acronym again?
But nobody knows.
It's Yonkers Artists Association.
No, you're on your own. You're on your own.
So, Yoho,
These are different artists.
An organization.
They're going to highlight Emily.
So it's an organization.
You want me to watch this in another room so you can watch TV?
Of many artists out of Yonkers, often focused out of that building, Nepperhan Avenue. Adam Schultz is a key player in organizing the artists, Lee Romero, and also all the artists there really work in a beautiful community. It's quite a group. Without further ado, Emily, I'm going to pass it over to you. Sophia will be hosting this event. Any questions, any thoughts, type it in. If you want to put in your information, Sophia will mute everybody so we can really focus on Emily. We'll have questions after, but maybe in between. Feel free to go on the chat dialogue. And at the end, we will then have other artists present. I think it'll be a great time. Welcome, Emily Stedman. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Emily, one quick question.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing watercolors? And why watercolors?
Well, I've probably been doing it a really long time, like 30 years. But I started out doing oil. I majored in that. I went to Pratt. And I tend to be very tight, and I like realism, but I wanted just not to be that way. I wanted things to be freer and faster. And so watercolor definitely does that.
Very nice. I can see the working with the liquid as it moves, very challenging, free and fast, but also dangerous.
Well, you can do things over again. That's a good thing about watercolor. You know, the paper's cheap. I mean, relatively. So you can just throw it out and do another. I like that about it.
Well, without further ado, go ahead. You have your screen
Okay.
to show us. Let's highlight the proper screens so we can see. Because I'm seeing your face now. I want to see the image on the phone. Sophia, you the image. Sophia will get it.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I hope I'm pressing the right thing here. I'm pressing join audio.
You're perfect. We hear you
Yeah, we
perfect.
can hear you.
Okay, but asking me. All right. Okay. All right. So first of all, I'm going to do like sketches because I've been involved with sketching a lot, and that's something you can do quickly. Sometimes usually I start out with sketches and then I do something more elaborate with them. This is like a sketch that I did at the at one of the gardens where they had, you know, water. And I just did it quickly. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes not. This is one where I did, you know, boats. I like water and backgrounds and atmosphere, and I think that watercolor definitely lends itself very well to that. And so I usually like to work from life, but it does happen that a lot of times you can't do that because you're in a hurry, or, you know, it's 95 degrees or something like that. So I often will take photographs of places that I like and work later from them. So I did take, this is something I thought I would come back to. This is something I took a photograph of a couple, I don't know, maybe not last spring, but the spring before, which, now don't mind the Trump Tower, but I like the horse and the buggy and the people running. Now, it's not a good photograph, okay? But it was the feeling of that moment that got me. And even though the photograph doesn't capture it, it sort of tells you a little bit about it. So a lot of the times the way I work is I'll just draw something quickly, not in so much detail, sort of like the picture. So this is a sketch, which isn't, you know, you never even be able to see it when it's done. And so, okay, so I'm gonna sort of start the way I would do it. I think, now there's lots of different ways to start. I think this time I'm gonna just start with the animals, because this area, I want it to pop out, you know, I want it to be like the white of the carriage, but I want to, you know, put a little, maybe a little bit of, you know, something in it, you know, a little texture. Sometimes they have shadows. And I think this time I'm going to, things that I care the most about in a way, are I want this red part to really pop out. So I might do this first. This is like a magenta, permanent magenta, which is pretty good actually in terms of staying. Maybe put this on. And then I'm going to, there's this wonderful color called Opera Rose, which is very nice. And I'm going to just sort of put a lot of it in here. Just really a lot of it. This is going to be sort of the background here. I guess these were cherry blossoms. They were so pretty. You know, it's like, I think of them almost like, you know, after winter, so depressing. And then, you know, these cherry blossoms come out. It's like absolutely amazing. It's like miraculous, actually. So, so that, okay, this is all going to dry like much later. And then I think I'm going to start in with a background. And what I usually use, I like to have, I tend to sort of work with primary colors. And so I'll probably use like an ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson and sap green. And that gives you a very dark color, which, you know, works out. I can start putting it in like this. I think I might want it to be a little greener. It'll go back like that. And even though it's really dark, when this dries, it's not going to be that dark. So put in different colors here, and it kind of creeps back there. I don't want it to creep too much though. in that direction. So I'm gonna move this a little bit. And I'm gonna go around this guy here as runner. Another thing you can do is kind of nice is put in, you know, dots of things that might, you know, the leaves or whatever they are, flowers. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see, where do I want the dark? I think I want the dark around this carriage here. So I'm not necessarily always work this fast, but I'm doing this for now. Let's see here. I don't mix everything so much beforehand, so it's a little time consuming maybe. Go around here. Different colors in here. I'm gonna leave white. I mean, leave the carriage white here. One thing nice about working from photographs is it doesn't move. So that's gonna be nice. Let's see here. Still using the same colors. Get a little more purple. I really like the way, you know, like it kind of runs together and it's kind of accidental. One of the things I like is to, one of the things I like is to sort of like find it like a story. And even though it may not seem like a story, to me it is, in the sense that it's like, you know, normal life is fascinating to me rather than made up things. I don't know why. At one time I did work a lot not using naturalistic things, but I just prefer it because I think that in nature, you can never really, nothing is ever as exciting really as reality. I mean, visually, at least. So.
I like the way you've evolved foliage by sort of playing in the watercolor bleeding up and how you bend the paper and you get the colors, the way the red stands out in the right. It's very, you get nice highlights. I would imagine it's tricky not to go muddy. Am I correct?
I don't know if that's true. Because it dries so light,
Okay.
you know, it might not actually be so much that way. So I'm just going to put this over here. I guess, you know, what I'm sort of thinking about here is how, for me, it's very exciting. This might not be for other people, but, you know, this kind of explosion of color. But I like the idea of, you know, the horses and the people and the kind of the life of the world going on rather than, you know, something else. Okay, so let's put some more of these down. Oops.
Emily, do you ever use a block?
Yes, a lot actually. Yeah, but this is a very small one, and it's a sketchbook. So
Oh no, I meant to block out to block out where the color will flow into. Like you could put like a dummy thing you put in there to keep the ink from
Yes.
flowing further.
yes, I do. I use that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do that. But
Then you have to peel it off later though, right?
right. I guess, you know, if it were more planned, when I'm planning, if I did this over, you know, and it was much more tight, I would probably do that, you know, because it makes it much faster.
Yeah.
You don't have to do all the other stuff. Okay, so now I think I'm going to do the background here. Do this. Buildings. Here. It gets bluer. Trying to get the little shapes of these things. Okay, now I'm going to use a bigger brush. Just get this on here. Different colors here, maybe a little orange. So these are the buildings in the background, actually. I'll put in like an old-timey building. Oops. Over here.
Those bamboo brushes are great fun, aren't they, Emily?
Yeah, these are like, they hold a lot of water. So they're very, you know, you don't have to keep putting water in them. Yeah.
In some of the ceramics glazing, they use a much larger one, almost like a ball, that gets to a point so they could load up a lot of glaze. And somehow they draw fine lines. And since the head of the brush is so thick, it's so big, they could do so much without reloading the brush.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. Yeah.
Later, perhaps you could tell us the brand of brush that you like the most.
Oh, yeah, you know, I'm pretty much use anything. But I like the Escoda. Do you know them? They're
Yes, but the brush you're using right now looks great. What is that one called?
oh, you know, I went to this Urban Sketcher Symposium, and there was a woman who made brushes. Her name was Rosemary or something. And this is one of her brushes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Handmade.
Handmade, yeah. And they weren't that expensive. They probably are. No, I don't think they are that expensive, but yeah, so this one works out.
Emily, will you fill us in about the Urban Sketchers and what you do with that group, how long they've been around? It's something I only recently found out about, but I think a great group.
Yeah. Yeah, the Urban Sketchers is a group that is international, and they're all over the world. It's an amazing thing. It's free. People, they go out twice a week and sketch. Well, I mean, not now because of the pandemic, but they go out twice a week and sketch, and to places that you'd never think of going. All kinds of gardens around New York City and stuff like that. And it's free. And now they're actually doing it virtually. Like they'll use Google Maps and go to like Venice or something, and go down the street, or you can go to any street you would want. And it's very supportive. Like they always after each meeting you have what they call a meetup or a shout out or whatever it is, and you talk about you put the work up, and you're not allowed to say anything bad about anybody's work or your own work. So people have really gotten better. I mean, I think it's freed me up a lot to do this. Urban Sketchers. I mean, it certainly made me do things I would never have done. Because the interesting thing is you could probably start painting anything. You could probably start painting a brick wall, and you'd be amazed what you'd come up with. You think you have all these preconceived ideas about things, but it is amazing. But I really love New York. I mean, I think there's so many wonderful things here to do. So let's see, we'll go back here and maybe put in some windows. Use a different brush.
Emily, do you ever go back in with a pen?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I have them be very detailed, before doing them, and with a pen. That's another way of doing things like that. But I don't know. I like painting, like not. I like drawing, but I don't know, somehow painting is different than drawing. So yeah, but so I'll do many different kinds of things. I like to put in these windows. I think I'll put a tree in the middle of that tree here. This dark color here. I like to use the cadmium colors. They're kind of old-fashioned and you're not supposed to use them anymore. But I think they're really better.
So, how would you say better? Richer, deeper?
Well, I wouldn't say. I think they're not as glaring as the more modern ones. They're more subdued, and when they dry, they actually become duller. I don't know. I'm just used to them. Maybe that's it. you know, they're not rogue colors either, which doesn't really matter, but yeah, I guess I don't, I really can't explain why. I know what they do, maybe that's part of it. Whereas with the others, you know, these a lot of colors that are have just come out, it's hard to know what they do. Okay, so in the spring, we have a little bit of green on the trees, just a little bit here. So here's where I could go on and on forever.
What brush are you using now? The one that you would use for the spokes and the detail?
This is a brush that
Yes.
it's called a dancer.
And who puts that out? Oh,
Somebody gave this to me, so I really don't know that much about it, but it's nice. It has a very long point, and it does like a lot of detail. You can do detail. Black on his hat.
Emily, what sketchbook do you like to use? Somebody had asked in the chat.
What sketchbook?
Or paper, give a preference to weight? You go very thick. Is there a size you usually like to work with? Is it a Strathmore series? What do you enjoy?
I like Arches paper very much. Sometimes I make my own, but I have all different sizes. This size is like, I don't know, 8 by 11 maybe. I go on Amazon and I look up different ones, and there's always new ones. I really would love to get Arches sketchbooks, but I can't find them anymore. I think they might have stopped making them. You know, because they're like 140 pound, which is heavier and doesn't buckle so much. This one is a little heavier. This is it's a brand, it's Hala, I don't exactly remember the name, but I believe I got this one in Amsterdam when we had the Urban Sketcher Symposium. And I think it's thick, it's like 140 pounds. Yeah, so yeah, Arches I like the best.
I love how you transformed the buildings that were there into this much more beautiful vision.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've painted so many brownstones.
Huh.
From the Urban Sketchers.
But I like how you said you could look at a brick wall. You may have done so many brownstones. You could look at the same one over and over, or a new one. There's always micro differences in the details, in what you choose to bring out, and
Right.
how you apply it and respond to it in your process. So it's, I think most artists work in series, and many do the same thing over and over through their life because there's so much diversity. And what you said about nature being inspiring and having a full playbook to choose from, I think is right too. And keep in mind, surrealism and other arts often mix naturalism in a different element. So they obscure it a little. So it is still an element in a lot of other works.
Yeah. I mean, I think really all great art is abstract. I mean,
Exactly.
I guess.
When you see a two-dimensional image like this in reality, artists make quite unique objects.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's. See, I usually don't use black, but sometimes it's, you know, like you're saying, like, do you ever go over with a pen afterwards? Like, sort of what I'm doing here is using the black in that regard, you know, as
As a painter, I stay away from black too for certain reasons. I'm curious your reason. Why do you do that?
well, it's so much stronger than everything else that I think you can use it, but very carefully. It just will punch out the whole painting. Otherwise,
Exactly. That's why I stay away from it. Metallics will do the same, obviously. Gold, silvers, even more so. Kandinsky had a famous painting in the 1914 era called Black Lines. And I think it was his way of saying, great painting, all the action, all the color. Those black lines are so strong, they dominate the space.
yeah,
No question about it.
yeah, and even like a dark black, well, what would seem to be a black, I try to use, you know, the colors of the painting mixed together, like down here. You know, it almost looks black, but it's still the green and the, you know, the magenta and the blue. We got a little. Now, you know, sometimes, you know, like certain parts of it, like maybe don't show up so well. I might go in later and put in a little white up here. You know, I don't like to use white, but sometimes I will.
Do you feel that it's cheating? Is that why you don't use it?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
It feels cheating. So-
Yeah.
But it looks so different when you paint with white versus the white of the page.
Yeah.
Changes the look.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
When I did watercolors, I found it went opaque and it gave me a different texture on the surface, but that was years ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. Usually not the same color white, you know, it's much whiter or something. So. Okay, so let me put a little color on this guy.
Also, it's great that you're not holding back on the water, but this paper is really not buckling too much considering.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually, you know, it's interesting because when it does buckle, it if you just put something on top of it, it doesn't buckle anymore. You know, it flattens out.
That's great.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. I'll give him green pants.
Emily, someone's asking if you said where this scene is.
Oh, this scene was in Central Park, I believe, and I don't exactly know where because it was near Trump International Towers, and this horse was there, and you know, it's Central Park. I'm not sure where.
That's a
Probably-
Columbus Circle, right?
Yes.
I think,
Right.
yeah.
West and
In the corner.
58. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one or two monuments might have to be removed from that.
Yeah.
I say it as a joke, but maybe, you know, it's a big issue. I don't want to go into it, but sometimes a reappraisal of imagery in the public space, what it stands for, is important for a culture to step forward and not hold on to thoughts that were harmful and wrong as we evolve. Never for toppling an artwork. It may not belong because it may give, it may be not be inspirational, but actually portray some images and thoughts we don't.
I think the danger is it may backfire on the movement to have taken down the statues so many so quickly that way. It may put the goats on the other side, is what I'm saying.
There'll be reaction and action, and there's sort of a minor revolution going on that's not so minor. And yes, but this is a path that needed to be addressed, you know, a long time ago. Sorry to, well, maybe that's for another topic. I want to break for 1 second, and again, welcome everybody. This is the Artist Talk on Art. Emily Stedman is going to continue with her presentation in a minute. I just want to say a painting or a watercolor is not done in an hour or 2 hours, and Emily has gone on at this, and you see how it's moving along. It's a pleasure to watch and see an artist's hand develop and evolve and move a work, move through it. So many different thoughts, the way you did the buildings and just those little lines in the top right corner made me think of an artist whose name is not coming. That's all she would do is those strokes, very meditative and Zen-like, and using your hand. It's very nice. ATOA is a 501(c)(3). All this is free, and we welcome you artists to come every Monday. If you'd like to contribute, go to our website. We are also opening up to, we always welcome artists to present on our Monday nights and share their work. This is a unique presentation with a demonstration and a focus. If you have ideas and concepts for talks or panels, we are going to be posting soon information on our website and having a Zoom meeting to discuss different panels and to set dates. So look for that on our website. Thank you for coming. We're going to continue. Emily, we'll go back to you, and at the end, we'll have a few other artists share as well. So again, thank you, Emily. This is
okay. Okay. You're welcome.
Emily, I'm going to ask a question for Pamela, who posted it. She says, in many of your flower paintings she has admired, you use a rich dark for contrast. It's a darkish blue-green color, a mixture of Viridian and Windsor blue, or another combination. Please share your formula.
I usually use ultramarine blue as the dark blue. I think it's really a great color. And sap green and alizarin crimson. Or you can use hooker's green. I like that color a lot. But depending, I guess, on how much, if you have those three colors, you put more blue in, it becomes bluer. And if you know, and you put more red in, it becomes redder, but it's still the same three things. Also, Prussian blue can be nice. It's very, very dark, though. It's another one that you have to be careful of.
Let's see. Pamela says she hasn't heard of those greens. So it's sap green. I'll write it in. Sap green, hooker's green.
Right.
And what was the third?
Alizarin crimson.
Oh, well, it was sap green, ultramarine blue.
And alizarin.
And alizarin, right? But then you said there were two other greens, hooker's green, and you said that there's also
Prussian blue.
Prussian blue, not a green.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I also use a lot of cobalt blue. These are like not super modern colors. So they tend to be more expensive, I think. But you don't really use.
Harsh. They're not as harsh. Some of the more modern colors are really harsh.
Yes, yes.
They're chemical looking. These are natural colors have a kind of a little softer, richer tone. Not
right.
as,
Yeah.
I mean, something like phthalo blue can, a splash of that can just go, and, and dominate the whole painting.
Right. Yeah.
True.
It's just so strong sometimes. You have to know your colors, anyhow.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true. A
Yeah.
way of controlling them is to know what they do.
Yeah.
Let's see if this is not dry. I'm going to put some red in, but
Emily, what brand of watercolors do you use? Do you have a preference? Are you using something you dilute yourself?
well, I have come to like this Daniel Smith. This is Daniel Smith. I don't know if they're a new. I think they're fairly new. I think they're really good. They're really good. They have so many different kinds of colors and so many all of the the older ones and the newer ones. It's really a great company. It used to be like Winsor Newton and stuff was very good, but I don't. I think they might have like fallen on hard times. They don't seem to be doing as well. And Daniel Smith is what, I really got into that because of the Urban Sketchers and, but it does seem like they are really good and they're not that expensive. I think a lot of prices have come down in art supplies. Used to be a lot more. Okay. Sometimes it takes a while to dry. And you don't necessarily want to have stuff spread out. In here. So I guess at this point, I'd probably think about what I would do next, look at it for a while. Maybe, do more detail. But
Emily, would you say a work like this goes through one sitting, two sittings, three sittings? You have a way that, you know, you sort of go back or stop going back?
Well, it depends on how much time I have. If I have like hours, I'll probably, you know, sit there a long time. But sometimes, a lot of times when I do something, I put it aside and then I look at it later and I like it and I work on it more. You know, I think, you know, when you've been so close to something, it's hard to have a feeling for it. Usually for me, like I can even years later look at something and finish it. And then, you know, it's much better. I don't know. I think seeing things so close up can be, you don't see a lot. That's for me.
No, it can give a tunnel vision, of course.
Yeah.
Focus like that, but then again, you get something, you lose something and you gain something at the same time.
Right, yeah. And also you get tired, you know, you get fatigued.
Why do you think Pollock had so much coffee and alcohol? Would anybody like to ask some questions or share some thoughts, make a statement, anything they like about what they've seen with Emily, or open up any dialogue? We'll sort of open the table as to this discussion as Emily continues. I do want to point out she will probably go back. The point was not to do a finished work, but to show her process and talking about all the colors and the mixing, the brushes, the materials. This is very nice focus for anyone interested in watercolor, or like your work has detail, to give us the detail as you did is great. And you can't but notice the meditative effect of watching her work for 45 minutes and how it makes you feel. I do want to mention his name. Bob Ross did a lot of good by painting and getting people to relax. It is not to put him down in any way, but to say you can engage in painting, and it can, even watching it, it can do a lot for you that the noise of the street sometimes doesn't do. Let me open it up to questions. Of course, Emily, jump in at any time with any thoughts. We do have a nice group here, so everyone chime in as you like. Keep in mind, if you'd like to present, we'll only have a truncated presentation till 7:30. We'll have something next Monday again, but feel free. We will do a little presentation of a few artists who type in the chat that they'd like to, or even say, yes, I'd like to. But let's open the floor up to questions and thoughts. I think, Emily, first, bravo. What a beautiful, really beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Sí, bravo.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Emily mentioned that you started out as doing oil painting, but that you like watercolor. It's a freer, more fluid kind of medium. But
right.
Did you have to, this is kind of, seems like a contradiction, but did you have to work hard to get looser and let yourself leave things more, you know, expressively and not go in and finish every detail?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I actually like, I like realism. You know, I like things very tight, but I also like I love like John Singer Sargent, who looks like he just went like that, or Rembrandt. You know, it's. Of course, I don't think they really did. Maybe Rembrandt did, but you know, I think that's really the artist. That's really what art is. You know, like I do believe that anybody who worked long and hard on copying something anybody could do it. Now, is that fair to say? I don't know, because still other things can be brought out in the process, you know. They'll be focusing on something, and it can also be about the you know, maniacal copying. It can be about that, you know, make a statement. So, but for myself, I like, you know, I just like to move. I think I like to move paint around. It's very enjoyable for me, you know. So, like my sister said, well, just do what you want, you know. And you know, I really like to just do that. So, but and also another thing about oil is that it was a tremendous commitment. It seemed to be, especially when I was in art school, like I wanted to make the frame from nothing. I don't know why. So I get the wood, you know, 1x2s, we get miter boxes, we put rabbit skin glue on it even. And of course, this wasn't because it was so academic, it's just because I wanted to do that. And so it was almost like the whole thing was a big process. And I could never really let that go and just buy stuff. So it was too much, actually, you know. So this is much lighter, much easier.
Am I right to say you're a fan of Franz Hals for the same reason you like?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. He has a museum in Haarlem in the Netherlands, the Frans Hals Museum. Oh wow, yeah, yeah, I like him a lot. It's too bad nobody can go to Europe.
Yes.
I mean, I would like to go there. Hopefully we will again.
Emily, are you painting this on a flat surface?
Yes, this is flat. It's my desk.
It's your desk, and it's not tilted.
No, it's not tilted.
How large would you paint on that surface? How large a painting would you make on that surface?
Well, normally I use all different things. I sometimes put it on the easel. You can see that behind me. I sometimes do it flat, but usually outdoors, I would just frankly just sit there and do it flat. Faster.
You don't get dripping if you work on an easel?
Yes, but I don't mind that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And yeah, I get dripping.
Okay,
but yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
I guess you control it to some extent.
You can wipe it out too.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the question, do you use pen for any of the line work, or is it just?
I have two different ways of doing it. Sometimes I use pen. Lately I have not been as much. I think there are people who do it so beautifully, you know, use pen like they're in the Urban Sketchers. I really am just painterly, I think, more so than, you know, a person who likes to be like, I don't know, I'm just not as good at it. I don't like it as much. So I don't use it too much, only mostly to define it, because when you draw something and you do paint it, you don't see you can't, I mean, you can't really keep within the lines. So what's the point really of doing something, you know, accurately? Like, you know, if I just drew in every flower, which I actually could do, I may, but I would rather do it with paint.
Emily, I don't know this about you. Do you like to look at or get inspired by Oriental watercolors, traditional, like Chinese or Japanese, or not really? Because the technique is different.
No, I have yet to discover them.
Uh-huh.
I don't, you know, I haven't. But somebody in Yoho, you know, when everybody moves out, they leave everything for free. So somebody left a whole bunch of books about Chinese painting. So I took them, and I might, you know, I'm going to look at them because I love the way they do it. You know, I love the way they paint.
Well, there's the big scenes, and then there's the closer up still lifes and such. Yeah.
You mean the Chinese?
I mean, the Chinese, you know, have the landscape with a very big, encompasses a lot. And then you'll have the closer up either with a branch of flowers and a bird or, you know, something closer up.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, for myself, I mean, the technique I like, the subject matter, personally, I like everyday life, you know, ordinary.
Right, yeah.
You know, people running or sitting, although maybe this might be a little more romantic, but not necessarily, you know, something as stylized as, you know, a bird in a tree or whatever.
Yeah, if you saw some very more modern Chinese painting, they might begin to be more everyday life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of modern Chinese painting, actually. So,
Emily,
yeah.
I realized how large that bleeding heart painting is.
Oh,
Wonderful.
thanks. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, is that from a pad or is it a sheet of 22 by 30?
It's 22 by 30. Yeah, it's a sheet.
Lovely.
I mean, I've been through a lot of different ways of getting them so that they're flat and don't buckle. And the little thing is I just use these clips and then I just move them, you know, it's a lot easier. And then buckles, but it tends to flatten out though.
And it's clipped to a board.
Yeah, it's not foam core, it's with the other stuff.
Oh, gator board.
Yeah, it's gator board, right.
Right. Oh, wonderful. It's wonderful to see you opening up the spaces between the finer forms of the flower. I love your in-between spaces, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
The sort of patches of color that it just seems to work, and it makes it so much more interesting than just a solid background.
Yeah, it's probably because I run out of paint along the way. But that's what sort of, oh, thanks. Yeah, it's sort of, that's what suggests things, you know, like these things appear, you know. That's what I mean by waiting. Like if I did this one bigger, it would probably have a lot more different things in it. But this is like the preliminary sketch. Yeah, so.
Are you able to bring your camera closer to that bleeding heart piece so we could see the detail? Or are you on a fixed screen on your table?
Well, you have to imagine how precarious the setup is. I've got a light that if I go like this, it'll get knocked over. And then this thing is this. So I would fear to move my.
Yeah, we won't. But I will say, you know, the silly point. When we look at your watercolor and you shake your wrist that's holding your iPhone a little, of course, it becomes a video right away. The animal starts to move a little.
Oh, right.
That is a way to animate something very inexpensively without drawing too much.
That's true, yeah.
It's a cool little trick.
Yeah.
That's a funny idea.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think I might do that actually.
You go through another book of lies, lying liars, and the liars that tell them.
Well, Emily, let me ask you, I didn't start off by saying, where are you? Where are you, in your studio or in your home studio? Where are you located?
I'm in Yoho, which is in Yonkers.
Okay. Yes.
And I don't live here, but I'm here now. And I come here a lot.
And what happened? Yonkers, Yoho does the open studios. What did you guys end up doing? Did you do a virtual showing of are there 50 artists there, 70 artists?
No, nobody did anything. I did though. I did a virtual open studio. I might do another one. The problem is there's nobody here, you know, and to coordinate, you know, and they have to be here, you know, to have an open studio. They can't be in their apartment. So.
I will say for those of you that don't know, that Yoho artists, that group that are in the building on Nepperhan Avenue is a building worth exploring. There are many artists worth getting to see and know there. Amongst, not to, you know, say anything about anyone I don't know, but I know Lee Romero and an artist worth seeing, as is Adam Schultz, and many others that I've walked in and met there. That a very pleasurable trip to visit the artists in studio, including Emily.
Yeah, Alexa too. I don't know if she's still on, but she does wonderful things.
Alexa Brock?
Alexa.
Grace.
Grace.
Grace. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I'm senior moment here.
I understand, Emily.
Alexa, kind of a character. Yeah, so we have, it's a nice, it's a very nice place here. I never expected anything like this. You know, the people here are really great.
Yes, they are.
The landlord might not be so great, but
No, he's not.
I shouldn't say that. He might be listening.
It's okay. We have to speak the truth.
And that's okay. We do archives of art talks and in the Smithsonian collection, the Archives of American Arts. This is true. I do want to share, some artists have typed in, thank you so much for sharing your work and your process, Emily. Priscilla Stadler said that. Pearl Golden said she found the site for Rosemary Brushes on Wind Rivers Arts.
Oh,
Will you please copy that? That's I would.
Robert pointed out, Emily, you like to paint scenes from history as well.
oh yes, yeah. It's a story, you know, stories. I make them up. When I sort of travel around New York, especially where I live in Washington Heights now. I've moved around a lot, but there's so many places that look like they were something and they're not now. They're like, you know, decrepit. And I think, and the South Bronx also, you know, it's like, God, what was this place? You know, was it a great movie theater or was it? So, you know, I look them up and then I sort of make up these stories about them that might have been, you know, that might have been like some kids in front of it or like I've discovered places that the first library in New York City was in Washington Heights.
Oh.
And it was private. I mean, it's all this history. I don't know what interests me. Especially around, you know, where I live, there's a lot of like Duke Ellington's house. It's nothing. It's like an apartment, but it's really, I think it's really cool. Like it has like a spiritual something there, you know, the ghosts of those people who lived there.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm interested in that.
Also, Jill Gerwirtz said it was great to see your process, and Regina Silvers expressed great to see your work develop. And Cheryl, that she's enjoyed and loved your work for many years. Thanks for sharing your process. And Nina, Emily, it's so beautiful. Love to watch you create. She had to run early. I think we all share that. This was great. We do usually invite other artists, but there was sort of a nice wholeness to this with a focus on you and your work that I want to keep our minds sort of around this. And so I'm going to say, I'll do a brief closing and I'll say artists will share next Monday, and every Monday we do. This was special, and I want to keep our thoughts around so much that you shared about process and more than that. You know, you like to look at the ordinary, but you see it a little different. You see the past sort of coming through, but it's not fully coming through. It's almost like a detritus of object in history. Somehow it's tarnished. We don't see it, and it's right there.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't see it. And it probably shapes us in many ways that we don't know about.
So I just want to thank you, Emily. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this. It's Artist Talk on Art. We're a 501(c), not-for-profit. We're putting on talks like this every Monday. We have more talks coming, and we're going to be doing open Zooms where you can flesh out ideas, present panels. Go put your thinking cap on. Think of a panel of 2, 3, or 4 around a topic and present it. We're going to be very quick to say yes if you're organized and enthusiastic, and it'll be a fun thing. We'll come up with a day of the week, and we'll expand our programming. Emily, this was great. I think we do
Thank
the
you.
claps now. Everybody clap. That was
Yeah.
so nice. Thank you, guys. Be a part of this. It's so nice to see so many new faces, and of course, so many of the regulars. You know, and I have to thank you, Fran, for helping out there. As always, we are a beehive community. We don't often see how we work together, but we do hear. We do hear. It's obvious how we share information, how we help with technical things, and we are all related. Sometimes it's hard to see the connection, and a bunch of artists together, it's a little bit easier to see that connection. Thank you, Emily, and it's Artist Talk on Art.
Okay.
Wait, thank you,
Emily.
Barry.
Thank
Thank you, Barry. Barry, you've always
Thank
been
you,
so
Barry.
generous with your comments and your time and with your presentation. It's always so appreciated. And Emily, too, it was great. Thank
I
you.
second that. It was
wonderful.
great, Barry.
Thank you.
Really. Wow, we have new energy. So happy.
Yeah.
Wonderful, Em.
Keep working.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.